What's up, guys? It's Sleepy here. Today we're going to go over a little bit of a blue captain build that I've been working on. As you guys know, captain is one of my alts. I've been working on a couple of builds regarding just kind of yellow, as from the last video, and blue. And as I was kind of working on blue, I figured that there have been a couple of people that have either been misinformed. And so,
Am I supposed to be using a shield with my healing captain?
are you not using a shield with your healing captain?
I've never used a shield with the healing captain.
I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but maybe you'd live more.
Is that why it takes so much damage in
Probably.
Doom, bro?
I have a whole shield when I'm healing on Captain, dude. You need to be using
No.
shield. And there's also been some people that just haven't been informed at all. They just have never been introduced to the blue captain. And so because of that, I wanted to make this video, hopefully getting some people kind of encouraged to do some blue captaining and possibly getting involved with that. It is one of my favorite healing lines to kind of heal in a fellowship, in a 3-man, things like that. And because of that, I just wanted to break it all down into a short video here for you. That way, if you were ever interested in doing heals on Captain, you can kind of find all the information all in one place and kind of make it nice and easy for you. You don't have to learn from scratch or anything like that. So hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. We're going over the build, the legendary weapons, and then kind of going into the skills themselves at the very end. So appreciate everybody for supporting the channel. I will catch you guys in the next one. All right, guys, so we're jumping into the build first thing here. If you're more interested in the final product of the build rather than the development of the build, feel free to skip right ahead. I'll have the 98-point build on screen for a little bit of time once we've kind of developed it a little bit further. We're just going to go step by step for all of us that are more interested in the decision making of why I've taken certain traits here, more importantly than anything else. So kind of jumping into it, we're going to be going into the Hands of Healing build, of course. When you go into the Hands of Healing build, you're going to be picking up a Valiant Strike. It's going to be a melee group-wide heal. And then also Sure Strike is going to have a buff that it produces, much like in the other trees as well. This buff's going to be called Focus. It's going to give a little bit of max morale immediately to everybody in your area. But on top of that, it's going to provide a buff that increases the incoming healing that everyone receives by 5%, the resistance rating that everyone has by 3%, and the tactical mitigation everybody has by 2%. So this particular buff is going to last for 45 seconds, much like the others, but that's going to be what you get by default when speccing into the Hands of Healing tree here. All right, so the first sections that we're going to be filling out is Skilled Hands. Skilled Hands, we put all of our points into here because that's just outgoing healing modifier and tactical and melee damage. Following that, we put it into Bolstered Resolve, which is healing critical magnitude. Both of these in the first row are just simply amplifying the healing. There's nothing special to this. It's just kind of background statistics that help out our healing overall. When we move from here, we're going to move over to the next row, going to Words of Courage healing. Max that out because that's very good on single target. We pick up the blue mark, or revealing mark, as some people might know, because that's going to help, again, restore maximum morale, and it's amplified as one of our passives later on. I personally pick up the Rallying Cry damage buff, because typically when you are in a blue captain position and healing on blue captain, you in 6-mans and 3-mans will typically be one of, if the only blue captain or captain on the party, where some red captains will pick this up in their trait trees as well. Typically, if you're a blue captain, it's not necessarily the greatest thing to stack classes in 6-mans, so I pick it up anyway just to make sure that that DPS buff does come along. If you find yourself in a party with another captain or a mariner, you can pull these points out and put them elsewhere in the tree. As you can see, we're already pretty deep into it. You can pull these points out, put them elsewhere if needed. Going into the next row, I pick up Escape from Darkness. When you do revive people, it's nice to have them at max HP, so I make sure that we have that taken care of. Underneath in that next row, increasing the tactical critical chance and critical multiplier. Where you're not a tactical class, all of your heals do get based off of this, so it's nice to have that in effect. Onto the side, Relentless Optimism Captain Area Effect Healing. That's going to affect things like Inspire, things like Rallying Cry, all of your area of effect things that hit multiple targets. That's going to affect them, so we take that. I move on and put 1 point into honorable blow. If you have additional points left over, this is where you would dump those points into, because what this does is it grants an incoming healing buff to the entire fellowship when you use the Inspire skill on a target that has the revealing mark that you got a couple rows above. Underneath all that, I'm going with the Standard of Honor. This is going to be your banner, and it is going to be one of your major healing cooldowns that can be used to heal people cross raid. So it's very important to take this skill and increase the healing from it as much as possible. Next to it, we pick up Rallying Roar. Rallying Roar, simply put, just increases that rallying cry, and it also restores power when you have it used with a defeat event. So very important to take that, if not only for the healing, for also the power restore for yourself. Underneath it down here, Fellowship of the Shield, it's going to allow your Inspire that affects your shield brother and yourself. All of those minor bonuses that you get from the both of you should extend it to your fellowship, and each point improves the bonuses that you're extending to those other players as well. Lastly, in this row, Contagious Communication. This is going to be something that extends to words. The words of courage is going to be allowed to be used on top of you here. So that's going to be good for your self-healing should you be into trouble like that. And lastly, Shield of the Dunedain and the Valor skills here are going to be your capstone. Shield of the Dunedain is simply put just a skill that is a shield that you can put on any target. It's an immediate skill that reduces the incoming damage of that target by 75%, which takes some traceries that improve this skill later on. And also Valor. Many of the melee skills will also just heal the shield brother as well. Anything that can help heal your shield brother is very important, as typically your shield brother is going to be your tank in most scenarios. Okay, so now that we've filled out a little bit of the blue tree here, it does fully unlock all of the blue passives. So before we move on to red and yellow, I do want to go over the blue passives so we can kind of keep everything centralized over here. The first blue passive is Ready Strike. It doubles the healing received from the blue mark, the revealing mark here. So this is going to go from 2% to 4% every 5 seconds whenever it procs. The other thing that we have here, Blood of Numenor, Escape from Darkness now becomes Cry of Vengeance. Now what this means is Escape from Darkness is typically let's go ahead and apply so that skill comes on over. But Escape from Darkness is typically your single target res. It's now going to turn into this guy right here, Cry of Vengeance, which it gives a little bit of stats after you res somebody, but more importantly, if you look at the top, there is max targets of 2, so you can res 2 different people. And that looked like 2 different people when you have this skill go off. So if you have 2 players go down and res, you can res the target that you select and then a nearby target as well. So that's very important. Captains are going to be the only people in the game that can res multiple targets in combat, so it's very fun to have that capability there. Following that passive is Elendil's Favor. Whenever you hit Blade of Elendil, their next Valiant Strike, which is the default skill that you get in blue, that will now heal for 20% more. So whenever you're hitting this Valiant Strike, we'll be kind of prepping that with Blade of Elendil, and we'll go over that when we go over the skills here. Tactician's Prowess is the following passive, and it increases the healing magnitude of the captain by 10%. It also decreases the cooldown of Defensive Strike here by 5%, so you can get into those battle readied and battle hardened stances faster. Next one is Reformed Alliance. It is one of the ones that has that wacky voice line, wacky yell, but most importantly, it is just a normal skill that's healing. It heals you by a percentage basis, so it's really great. We'll go over that again when we get into skills. Blessing of the Shield. You gain a personal benefit from Inspire, and you also gain a personal benefit when you use 2 arms. What those personal benefits are, we'll go over later, but that's something that's coming second to last in passives. The last passive we have is actually just a natural skill called Gift of the Spirit. It provides Inspiriting as a outgoing healing buff. We'll go over that later, but this is going to be one of your major single target heals when it comes to kind of healing targets overall. All right, so moving from left to right here, we're going to be going into the red tree. You can go deeper in the red tree into what rather than what we're going to show on screen here today. This is just my personal preference. If you go deeper into red, you'd be going down to pick up the melee's critical chance. I recommend going against that and we go deeper into yellow instead. The only thing that we're picking up into red is react to battle. This is going to increase the critical chance of devastating blow, light of Elendil, press and attack, and routing cry. But more importantly, the reason that we take this is because when we take it at max level here, we want every chance that we can for devastating blow and press and attack. For those skills to crit, it also triggers a defeat response for our rallying cry and our routing cry. So those, more importantly, leaning on the rallying cry because we want that heal to be as potent as possible. So that's the reason that we take the 3 points into there. And for my build, we're not going any deeper into red. We're only taking those 3 points. The rest of the points that we have will be dumped back into yellow. All right, so going into yellow here, this is going to be relatively simple. All we're really doing here is increasing the defensives of the captain. You are the healer. We want to make sure you're as beefy as possible. You're not really meant to be doing the damage. Leave that to the damage dealers. So because of that, we're picking up all 4 points of maximum morale. It doesn't quite get us down to the next tier, and so I'm also picking up all 5 points of devastating of the situational awareness here. What this does is devastating blow, pressing attack, blade of Elendil, routing cry. All of them have a chance to trigger an evade rating buff of 8%. It's a percentage buff, so it means it's really solid there for you. I pick up all 5 points because in this next row here, there is not too much going on in regards to what our selection is. What we have on the left-hand side is call them out. And what that really is, all in total, is just bleed skill damage. Our bleed skill damage as a blue captain is not going to be the focus of this build. It's not going to be the intention that we go into healing captain. If we wanted to do really great with bleeds, we would go into red. So for this reason, I don't pick up this bleed skill damage. So because of that, we have threatening shout or noble mark as potential solutions to take us into the third row there. This is a situation where this whole decision on this second row I would leave in your hands because I play differently than some of you might play. Many of my blue captain friends take noble mark as it is something that decreases the damage of the target and makes it to where if you put this on a boss, they're not dealing nearly as much damage, they're dealing 5% less. So that's certainly an option. Personally, I like leaving revealing mark on the target at all times for additional healing. So instead, I pull threatening shout. If you're one that is uncomfortable with taunting targets or generally speaking just not in that tank form or don't want to take threatening shout, you can always take noble mark, or if you want to take neither, you can throw it in to call them out and get that extra 2% bleed damage for you. But that is the decision I'd leave in your hands between these 3. Certainly picking up threatening shout is my playstyle. I like to be able to taunt things regardless of what I'm in because I am a tank at heart. That's what I like to do. So ultimately, I like to kind of tank, so we pick up that. Going into the next tree, I pick up In Harm's Way. It's a skill that is something that you use very sparingly. Basically, you throw a shield on your fellow teammates and you transfer half the damage that they take to you. It sounds a little bit scary, but you are the healer. You can understand when people are going to be taking some damage, and you also understand your capabilities as a healer as you play throughout this line. So you may not want to use this right off the start because it might get you killed, but as you get more comfortable with the class, In Harm's Way is certainly a skill to pick up. I also pick up Shrug Blows Aside, gives you a 2% more critical defense, simply because I don't want the routing cry stun, and I also don't have any reason to get a taunt for Grave Wound. If I grabbed this, we have a couple of taunts here for healing. I'm going to leave the taunting to the tank as most part. I do get that one because we need it to get down the next tree, but I don't need to grab Grave Wound taunt here. Lastly, going into the end of this, we have Turning Point. I'm putting all 5 points into this. Defeat events grant incoming healing, and this kind of incoming healing percentage can stack up to 5 times. So a great incoming healing boost for the captain. Let's go ahead and pick up Strength of Numbers in the last one down here. Basically, if you've tanked on Captain, you know what this does. It's just a self heal based on the amount of people that are around you, the max targets of 6. I paired this one a lot with In Harm's Way. If I'm popping this, people are going to be taking damage that's transferred to me, so I pop this following that to make sure that I can counteract some of that damage. Hopefully that makes sense. That's the full 98 point build right there in front of us here. We'll jump into legendary weapons here real quick, but that's going to be what I do for my 98 point build here. All right, guys. So moving over into legendary weapons. I'll leave both on screen here for people that want to pause and just fill out the legendary weapons themselves. Going into a small explanation, though, we pick up kind of looking at my healing dagger that I have. Yes, it's a dagger. Whatever. We go with Heraldries of the Bear for outgoing healing. Once we get into set bonus Heraldries later this expansion, we'll probably swap those into Mending Heraldries of the Bear. But for now, they're just simply Heraldries of the Bear. We have Area of Effect healing on both things here. We got critical and normal, and healing over time, critical and normal, with the single target healing being the odd one out with just the normal single target healing. To start with the words of power on this guy, all it really is just a bunch of healing pumped into the legendaries. So we've got Valiant Strike healing, we've got Words of Courage healing, Vocal Skills healing, Melee Skills healing, Rally Cry healing, and then also for my Battle Hardened stance, I have Battle Hardened outgoing healing buff. So a lot of healing is getting pumped into the dagger itself. I also have 2 grand willpowers equipped here as well to make sure I'm kind of more sturdy for any kind of hits I might take. Going into the banner that I have, this is when a lot of my defensives come into play and a lot of things that assist with the blue trait tree itself. So I have Shield of the Dunedain duration and Shield of the Dunedain incoming healing. That's going to help amplify that Shield SOD skill entirely to make sure I get the maximum value out of that. I also have Battle Hardened incoming damage reduction. Even though it sounds like a tanking tracery, you are a tanky kind of guy because we want to make sure the healer's alive, so I take that. I also pick up Pressing Attack and Devastating Blow critical chance. Like we said previously, every time that crits, we get a defeat response, making sure that Rallying Cry goes off pretty well. And then lastly, In Harm's Way allied damage reduction. When I do throw In Harm's Way out there, I want to make sure that even though they're taking half the damage, I want to make sure they're taking less damage on top of that. The only one I have here that could be a swappable one, I do have Make Haste Duration on here, primarily for the additional vitality that it provides, but that's the only one that I would consider kind of swapping out if we had something different that we could throw in. And then on top of that, I do have Heroic Precision for that extra critical chance for healing. So hopefully that kind of breaks down the LIs real quickly for you. Let's jump into the skills here and see how that kind of all goes into practice for everybody here. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to cover real quickly is kind of just pre-game fights, pre-game skills that you want to have. Your bannerman is always going to be something you want to have out, whether it be the Banner of War or the Banner of Hope. Those are the 2 recommended banners, of course, because they give the most value. Banner of War gives 3% damage. Banner of Hope is going to give you 2% mitigations on either side. I'm going to recommend Banner of Hope personally, but if you are in a group that is confident with their mitigations and you're just blasting through content, of course Banner of War is the way to go. The other thing that you want to do pregame as well is to put your Shield Brother on what I would assume to be your tank. Today we have it on Buttercup just because she's the only person that's willing to come out here and do this with me. But this is typically going to go on your tank because you do get a little bit more benefits to healing and defensives with your Shield Brother. So that's going to be going on the tank because they're going to be the ones that take the most damage. So remember to have that on them at all times. All right, so secondly, we're going to go into single target healing is going to be what we cover first. So single target healing is very simple. Most of your heals are going to be AoEs, so the ones that are single target are very easy to cover. We have Words of Courage that is on a 5-second cooldown and, again, can be used on yourself if you take that trait that we took. But we can stack that on Buttercup here, and you can see it has a heal over time every 3 seconds for 15 seconds. It's quite easy to do. The other single target heal comes from Gift of the Spirit. With that last passive that we took, every melee attack or melee skill that we do gives us a stack of Inspirited here, and we'll just tooltip each of them here. You can see that each time that we hit the target, with any melee skill. It can be anything whatsoever. We'll put 2 more in here for him. It increases it up to 2% per, and it'll cap at this guy right here, 10% outgoing healing modifier. So naturally throughout the healing, you want to keep this buff on you at all times. But if you ever were to need to heal somebody drastically, this gift of the spirit that we get is a massive kind of single target heal. Just like that, we can cash out this Inspirited. You can see we don't have it up here anymore. And it will give Buttercup a very heavy single target heal. And again, that's on a very short cooldown, primarily because the limitation is how many melee skills can we get off on the target. When you get 5 melee skills off on the target, you'll see it just appeared over here again. Can throw it over on Buttercup, 65k. And that's going to be how we handle that every time. So ultimately, it's going to be the only 2 single targets that you have there for you. It can be used on yourself as well. I've got skill target forwarding and just used it on myself there to make sure that it can also be used on yourself if you get in a dicey situation. Alright guys, so going into AoE healing, this is going to be a little bit more involved because this is where the Blue Captain shines. It's got a lot of AoE healing within the 6-man fellowship. None of this carries over into a raid environment to the second group, with the exception of the blue banner. And I went ahead and pulled up all of the heals on screen just so we can see them all on screen here. So the blue banner is a minute cooldown, does provide that additional healing across the raid, so it's certainly great to have. I'll go ahead and throw that out right here. So certainly is something that we want to make sure that we do have out on screen when we do something like that. You have the initial healing, and then this will kind of, you can see it pulsing as we're kind of sitting out with that. I did pull up both rallying cries so you can clearly see the difference. It's almost 3 times the amount when it comes to the initial heal. So we definitely want to make sure that when we are using Rallying Cry, if we can help it, we want to make sure it's the defeat response one, because not only do we get the extra power restore, we get the extra percentage in damage that we traded into as well, and overall it's just a better heal than the normal Rallying Cry. So I would recommend not using Rallying Cry by itself. Make sure it's in that defeat event stance. The other thing we have here is Reformed Alliance. It can only be used when in combat, so that's going to be another one. It's also got a 2-minute cooldown as well, but you see here when we hit it right there, it does have a pulsing effect. None of it is in tooltip form, but it does last that 10 seconds every time it's pulsing percentage-based health. So certainly is something to keep in mind when we're in like a dicey situation where cooldown needs to be popped. This is certainly an option for you to go with. I pulled up strength and numbers here just for you to be aware of what the healing value is of that. Just sitting here with Buttercup, that is what's kind of getting it to me here, is that particular tooltip there. So very nice to have for self-healing. When we get into our normal rotation of things, the Gallant display is something that will, just like any other particular Gallant display and the others here, we do have a tiering buff that will appear. You can kind of see that as we use Gallant display, it will naturally increase in value all the way up to tier 3, 160%. So this particular skill, it's important to have just in your rotation. You can see there it critted for 27k, rather nice. This is going to be something that hits everybody as long as we're hitting it, and it's important to kind of just keep in your melee rotation as it just is improving the natural healing that's coming out from you. So keep in mind Gallant display there. The other one to keep in mind is just Inspire itself. Inspire is important to have. It also gives you a power restore on top of the healing that it's providing. It's important to note that if you don't have a high enough finesse and you do happen to miss this ability, none of the healing does come through. So very important for you to keep just to have in mind. The healing doesn't affect you, but it does affect all of your other allies. So important to keep that in mind as well when kind of using Inspire. Lastly, I wanted to pull up about both editions of Valiant Strike here. There's not too much of a difference with this, but remember, if you can recall the passive that we had pulled up on blue, you can kind of see that when we go into this particular battle hardened stance. Again, outgoing healing is very important, so we want to stay in battle hardened throughout everything. But when we hit Blade of Elendil, you can see that this particular Elendil's Favor ability, that's a duration of 30 seconds. The next Valiant Strike heal that we do is increased by 20%. So that's what this tooltip is over here. Always make sure that when we're in any form of healing about to happen, we want to make sure we're in battle hardened. We also want to make sure that we're in battle readied as well, just because of the damage that we're dealing. It's also nice to be in that, but more importantly, the priority is battle hardened because of the incoming damage reduction and because of the outgoing healing modifier. So always keep in mind about all of that, guys. That's going to be all of the outgoing healing, with the exception, the one thing I didn't cover here just real quickly is the revealing mark. Always make sure that you have that or noble mark that we talked about if you chose to go with that in the yellow tree there. All right, guys, for the ending of the video here, I did want to highlight the utility that you have from the blue captain side of things. So for the two arms here, I went ahead and split this up into the different pieces that it covers. So two arms does 3 different things whenever you hit it. Obviously, it's going to be eligible to be used when you put Shield Brother on a target. So Buttercup has the Shield Brother right now, and whenever we use this, it does a couple of different things, and all 3 of those are on the left hand side, but we can still go over them. You yourself heal for that extra 25% healing. Buttercup here, the actual Shield Brother, is going to take 15% less damage, so a really nice tank cooldown for something of a tank. And the rest of the party, Stuart here, is going to take a little bit less damage. It's going to be this piece right here that takes 5% less damage, and he's also going to deal 2% more damage on top of that. So Shield Brother does cover a lot of things there. It's something quite valuable to kind of keep in mind. It's on a 1-minute cooldown, so you can hit that quite frequently. The other thing that you have in utility is in harm's way. Remember to keep in mind that when you hit this skill, even though Buttercup and all the others are going to get about a 10% incoming damage reduction because of the tracery we took, you're still taking half of their damage. So whenever you're doing that, you're probably wanting to follow this up with like a strength in numbers heal or something of this kind to make sure that you're not taking as much damage, or at least you're counteracting the damage. So in harm's way, definitely I would use sparingly. Make sure you're comfortable with the fight before you start to put yourself out there and use it and just flat die. But certainly something that you can use there. And lastly, the Shield of the Dunedain as well is something that's a 75% incoming damage reduction that I can throw on Buttercup there. You can see this is the icon right here. This particular damage reduction, because we took the tracery, is lasting 15 seconds. Also, because of the other tracery of incoming healing, it's also applying that buff there as well. So those are the kind of utility things we have. And last but not least, the Make Haste is also something that every captain has just by default. So remember to use that when needing to move out puddles or anything like that. Just another kind of thing to have in your tool belt there. I wouldn't neglect it by any means. It's certainly something that can help in those situations. All right, a little bit of a longer video there, guys. I do apologize for the duration. Hopefully we can get these trimmed down a little bit more, but I did want to make sure everyone is caught up as well as possible when it comes to the classes here. I want to make sure that you guys are great on the ground floor. If I will disclaimers and say here that this is my, I think, 7th character that I've leveled up here, so I haven't had the captain nearly as long as I'd like to before making this video. So if I did miss something that's more niche, that is something blue captain players always are mad that don't get included in the guide, feel free to comment that down below and let us know what it is. We're all trying to learn this class here and trying to be the best we can at it. So I'm hopefully that this kind of guide has set you up in a great spot for you to be jumping into some pugs and healing the content as it comes out here in the next couple of weeks. If you have any questions on anything, always feel free to let me know. And I hope you guys enjoy the next video. I appreciate you guys supporting the channel, and we'll catch you in the next one. See you guys.